But the concoction he's on sounds scary.
It is scary. He may die.
But Xanax,
he may die. Nothing we can do about it.
Supposedly, he did a concoction of what?
Heroin, cocaine, Xanax, alcohol, and ecstasy.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Like,
I get chills.
It's a Thursday night for me. It's like the Waltons if Grandpa dealt meth and John Boy smoked crack. It's called Sober House, and it chronicles the experiences of celebrities in recovery. They move into a house for several weeks to make the transition from junkies to new lives, free of drugs and alcohol. A new episode airs this Thursday at 10 p.m. on VH1. I've watched every one of them. Dr. Drew Pinsky supervises the recovering addicts, and he's kind of super awesome times 12 in my book. But before we catch up on Sober House, I want to talk to you about this new thing. What is Sex with Mom and Dad?
It's a show I'm doing on MTV Monday through Friday, 4 o'clock. It's a show we take kids that are acting out sexually, bring their families in, and really look at the emotional context of their behavior, how the parents can get them to change their behavior. Oh, here's some cuts from that. In fact.
There we go.
And it's a really good show. These kids, they're out there doing crazy stuff. This poor mom in this cut here had lost a son recently. She began drinking. The daughter started acting out. And none of them were putting the dots together. We sort of pull all that together for them and get the kids to make healthier choices and take care of themselves.
What you have homework assignments?
Homework assignments, we do very tough assignments where the parents have to talk to the kids about their own sexual life so the kids understand where the parents are coming from. It's hard.
I don't want to talk to my mom. My mom's 85 years old.
Thank God you're not acting out too much.
This is good stuff. I totally misinterpreted that title. I gotta say. And I was going to call the authorities on you, sir.
Yes, you thought Octomom was going to be this one.
Actually, you were looking forward to this whole stuff. I mean, you were going sex with mom and dad. I can't be any happier.
Against that. Cards on the table.
But it's a great show, and I really recommend people, particularly if you have teenagers, you will learn something by watching this show.
But, you know, when people talk about, like, this kind of thing, they immediately assume it's going to be from a modern perspective, and people, you know what
the reality is, Grandma knew all the answers long ago.
Really?
We have never reinvented things. It's just a new context for all of this. And the fact is, kids are behaving in an emotional, this stuff all is deeply embedded in their emotional lives, and we, as a culture, are just in denial about that.
What did some of the kids do in this that's really bad? Is it just
lots of stuff? Listen, for each family, I have to sit down and go, you got to know what at least they're talking about. What is the baseball diamond, for instance? I make the kids talk about what the baseball diamond is today, which is different than what it was in our time.
What's the baseball? Oh, no, wait.
On your way. Shortstop
Greg, it's a charming little reindeer.
They'll introduce me to fifth base. Oh, it was amazing.
Creative.
Just saying. Anyway, but it really is, and they think they hookup culture is sort of a cornerstone of their lives, their social life, and they're not happy with it. They're drinking. They always get loaded to hook up. It's just not a good thing.
It also has to do with our culture is so sexualized that it's everywhere.
Well, right, and sex has become a solution to a problem. So when the kids feel bad, the solutions that they find in our culture are drugs, alcohol, and sex. There you go. Now go feel better. And they do feel better for a while, and then they end up reenacting the traumas over and over again and feeling that much worse.
Yeah, it's one of those.
Then they feel better again.
No, then they
feel better, then they feel worse.
Then they direct their career objectives to Sober House, and they find their way to this.
Nice transition. I want to ask you, because I've been watching every episode, how is Seth Binzer doing? Last time I saw him, he had a heart attack after a binge.
Yeah, Seth is not. Seth is one that I am very worried about. He's not doing that well right now, and I love Seth. I talk to his sister and his dad all the time, and we've all sort of just given up until he's ready to stop. There's nothing we can do about it.
But here's an interesting thing. Okay, in this particular episode, which I watched twice, he films himself getting high and then dropping hints. In a weird way, it's not just an addiction to drugs. There is an addiction to attention and fame. And does it worry you that at the end of, let's say, one of this series, when they are back out in obscurity, will it be better or worse for them because they must crave that?
They do crave the attention, but the reality is I hope they sort of switch that to wanting to become an inspiration to other people in recovery. And if they're really serious about recovery, they come to terms with the fact that they've got to lead a simple life. That they need to be quiet, lead a simple life, and that's a more nourishing,
obscurity. I mean, it's like I think I said to somebody that the best thing to do is just to leave. I was saying it to Scott Baio, and he got very upset. I said, why do you come back to Hollywood and beat your ego up? You've made enough money. Go somewhere where you're not famous or you're the most famous person in your town, and stop beating yourself up.
I've just written a book about this. In fact, fame as an autonomous motivator has become commonplace, not just in this country, but even in China. That for the first time in history, pursuit of fame it rates higher when you study young people than wanting to be successful financially, wanting to be happy in a family. Fame becomes an autonomous goal, and that's a very unhealthy, highly narcissistic way of looking at things.
It's the recognition without achievement, and so there's a misunderstanding about how to get that.
That's right.
And then you feel that you deserve it when
When you get it.
When you get it,
and then it's been so democratized so much that all you have to do is go on Twitter or go on YouTube or whatever, and now all of a sudden you're famous, and that's a very, very slippery place.
How is Andy Dick doing? I always thought Andy Dick was an act when he did this stuff.
Andy's the real deal. Andy's doing fantastically. He's got a scram on, those continuous alcohol monitors.
Right.
Keeps him sober. But I talk to Andy all the time. He's doing great, actually.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because the thing is, when he was crying, the one I met him a couple of times in the days when he drank. You can't tell if he's like actually pulling your leg 90% of the time.
Yes, you can though. Now, especially now that he's sober, you really can't tell.
Yeah,
because he flips it on.
Do you ever get emotional when you're dealing with all this?
Oh, I've seen it. He's almost had. I remember that time when you were just literally like in pieces.
Yeah, yeah. I was about to have a stroke one day. I get very emotional. That's my job is to follow both in this show and in Sex with Mom and Dad is to follow the emotions and to be there with them when they're having these experiences. And these are very tough places to go sometimes.
Has Mary Carey dumped her dirtbag boyfriend manager? What a That's how closely I follow the show. Oh, I know, but when you watch this guy, he's a typical Hollywood maggot who kind of leeches onto people, and you got to get rid of them and I'm watching it. Those are the people that's why I watch, is to watch those people.
Can make an honest woman out of her, Greg.
Yes, all right, we got to move. A new episode of Sober House airs this Thursday.
Don't forget Sex with Mom and Dad. It's MTV.
Weekdays, 4 p.m.
Monday through Thursday, 4 p.m.
Yeah, 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you have a comment on what you're seeing, email us. We ran out of time with your interview, and I still had tons of questions about narcotics and addiction. All right, my first question is...
Greg seems to go there very, very quickly. He's like, now, if I take... do you want me to see the rate of meds you're on? I'll just assess it.
First, I want to ask you about Ambien, okay? Because I take Ambien when I sleep, and I get these weird, crazy hallucinations. And I talk to people. Matt over here, who's our cameraman, has the same thing. My wife gets really ticked off that I use it, but it's not...
First of all, I've got to call the DEA about everyone in this room here. I don't know quite what's going on, who's supplying you guys, but be that as it may, these are called hypnagogic hallucinations, where you're sort of between deep, sleep and awake, and you you can do anything during those episodes. Anything you can do awake, you could do in that state.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows what he's done? I'm just saying.
It is so much fun. I'm not saying you should do this. I take it because I do it because when I have insomnia and I got to get up and do Fox and Friends, I'll take an Ambien, and then I'll lie there and I'll put on music, and then my poor wife is I'm talking to her and saying the most ridiculous things, and I'm seeing crap.
Well, a lot of times I'll think I'm in there just smacking the crap out of them, but it's a hallucination.
I told her.
That's what I tell. Greg, I can't believe you hallucinated.
But Ambien is an excellent, what's called hypnotic sleeping medication. It's closely related to the benzodiazepines, which are highly addictive.
Yeah.
I've treated a number of Ambien addicts. You have to be very, very cautious of that drug.
I cut them in half. And they actually work better because I don't know why they dissolve quicker. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Oh, Bill, you're not supposed to tell.
Really, right now, what we're seeing is combinations of drugs like that with the opiates, OxyContin, and then we see just an incredible rise in the sort of Heath Ledger deaths right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, what is the worst thing? I mean, it's a combination of factors.
It's the benzos and the opiates.
How many drugs did he take?
It really does. It's the combo. You get tolerant to the intoxication, you get tolerant to the pain relief, but you don't get tolerant to the respiratory suppression. And you add in the benzodiazepine, you stop breathing. And that's it.
What's your take on legalization? I mean, we've talked about it. We've had the chief from Seattle. I think the war on drugs is lost, but I don't know.
You know, it's funny. I mean, you would think I'd have a very strong opinion about making it more illegal. I don't. Listen, I think the Harrison Narcotic Act of the early part of the 20th century is the most bizarre, draconian, pre-Elizabethan piece of law I've ever seen. It has no reality as it bears upon the relationship that humans have with drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
The fact is, in terms of the health expense and human expense, nothing worse than cigarettes and alcohol.
Exactly.
Nothing. So those are good drugs, and cannabis is a bad drug. Ambien's a good drug. It's very confusing. We really need to at least reevaluate all of this.
Yeah, I mean, the behavior, the thing about...
There's not a good drug and a bad drug. There isn't. It's just how humans relate to chemicals.
They're just substances. Basically, substances that you put inside you. The thing about alcohol, smoking is bad for you, but it doesn't change your behavior. Alcohol turns people into jerks. I'm sorry. But people who smoke pot don't pick fights with you. The guys on meth, like I say, they'll fix your toaster, or they'll break it. You never know. Cokeheads will talk your ear off and be generally just really obnoxious, but they don't get violent. Alcohol, to me, is the most violent drug.
It is. People do get violent alcohol. Speed is actually the drug of violence.
Really?
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one that people get very paranoid, very violent. In fact, I once heard a presentation by a guy that coined the term speed kills. Remember that back in the 60s and 70s? Well, he said he was originally thinking not that methamphetamine killed you, but when people on speed kill.
Interesting.
And, of course, roofie is the drug of love.
Thus, Greg has had a ton of questions off the air for that. I don't know why he waited until off the air.
It was more about where the supply comes from and body weight versus kilograms. I don't know. Awesome. That's it.
That's it.
We're done. Yeah, I still have more. Questions, but I got to go to a break. What? Yeah.
You have commercials and
I know, it's hard to believe.